Hello everyone, my name is Jack Hintz, and this is my discussion post for unconventional storytelling, showing and telling differently. I apologize for the rough voice. It's been a good weekend for football, so I've been yelling a lot, so I'm sorry. In the discussion post this week, Melanie Kitchens, Melanie Kitchens, she went into detail to help us understand her process of storytelling. She said she enjoys telling these stories, but she never tries to articulate her process beyond a very kind of simple story like the first one we looked at. She describes her very simple process of storytelling and alludes to things like Ronald Barth's punctum, Meyerhold's stylization, and John Cage's grace. She also goes over how different styles you can tell stories, and she kind of does it bit by bit by bit, as opposed to a traditional timeline. She introduces different ways to tell it, and one of the stories that she tells, or one of the videos she presents. And so I'm gonna go into that, and then I'm gonna kind of just talk about how it relates back to the work we're doing in class and what we're doing for our story project. So first, I'm going to describe all three of the terms we looked at. John Cage's grace is described as the co-presence of clarity. It calls grace essential to firmly established art practice, saying it's things like it's warm, incalculable, and human, and it's like the opposite of clarity or air. So the next one is Meyerhold's stylization. This is noticeable during the stop-start action sequences or the photographs, things like that. It exaggerates the photographs with people in order, people, rhythm, and repetition. So this is something you'll see a lot in the yoga story that we'll talk about in a second. And then the next one is Ronald Barth's punctum. This is the element which rises from the scene, shooting out of it like an arrow, like a piercing. It's kind of just the main theme you're going to get from watching these videos. You're going to have to find one thing and pick that thing. And Melanie Kitchens does a very good job of displaying that in one of her pieces. So the first piece I'm going to talk about is the story of a true fish called Little Orphan Annie. So I'm going to summarize the story and then kind of talk about the three elements and how it relates to them. So the story starts with showing a goldfish on the street and a sign that says, "Take me." And she described this as a true story about her actual goldfish, and it was just in some college town, so I'm assuming this was just some experiment. She's kind of ignored at first. She's left on a table and there's food put in front of her, but she's eventually picked me up, and there's some song in the background playing, and I think it's Johnny Cash, and it's just constantly saying, "Let me go home," "Let me go home, let me go home." So it kind of ties back in with the theme of a fish just being a lost animal, which is not a conventional animal that's usually lost. And she's brought into a home eventually, but she's kept in a tall glass, and she's looking at an actual fish tank through the glass, and you kind of get a sense of almost jealousy or sadness from the fish. It ends with her getting her own. The story ends good because it ends with her getting her own fishbowl and swimming in front of the camera, kind of dancing, and she seems happier. This is so that kind of sums up the entire story, and I would say this story is a really good example of punctum because it seems the element of longing or wanting a different lifestyle is very present for the fish, and you can tell that throughout the whole story, she's she almost has this feeling of being lost, and I feel like Melanie saves her at one point. So that really was a good example of punctum for me. The next one is stylization and discipline in yoga. This one, I'm going to kind of summarize this one because I didn't really understand this one too much, but I can see how it ties back to the three things. So it shows different shots of, I'm guessing, Melanie Kitchens and various yoga poses, blowing up balloons with metaphors and ideologies and their translations underneath them on them. I was kind of confused on this video, but the shots of the music video kind of jump with the musical cues. So this could be seen again as punctum, or what gives the story color. And then it shows her playing with just a variety of display cards and have words on them creativity, control, and reharmonize, and it ends with namaste, which is very clear evidence of stylization in this example, with the sudden cuts and the jumping back and forth with the progression of the music. So the next one is Bodybuildings of Vanishing Georgia. This is a story of a school bus that was made into a touring photographer bus, taking pictures of people, and there's a person in the background telling the stories of these people, and we're just getting different shots of their faces and stuff like that. And then it abruptly cuts to the sequences of scissors going through the paper, and the audio is very loud. It's meant to emphasize the fact that these people are being cut from the page, and it's making those what do you call those paper cutouts of the people that look like they're holding hands, and it's like making a snowflake. She's carving away to the point where I forgot what they're called, but the people who are holding hands. And she then is talking more and more about their stories as she places the faces from the pictures taken by the school bus photographer onto these people, and basically giving them bodies after they've long since passed. And this is a good example of grace because it feels like it's giving these paper humans a warm firmly established practice, and they're actually human elements. And music is saying things like la 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 la, life goes on in the background. So again, that would be a good example of grace because it flows well with the piece, and it's it's grounding in a firmly established art practice, because you can tell that this is something that the person has been practicing for a while, because it's very methodical the way they cut out the little paper people. So this kind of what we talked about, these videos and the piece that we looked at twice, kind of influenced how I'm thinking about telling my story for the performance coming up on Tuesday, because like I think the goldfish one was my favorite. It had the most impact on me, because it was like the simplicity of it was really easy, and it kind of made it like easy for me to understand. It made my brain process it a lot easier than like some other stories we've talked about in this class or other concepts. And I think I'll take the same approach as Melanie did, telling the story like scene by scene, and not overcomplicating it too much, and just making sure that it's something that the reader and the audience's brain can process, and something that is easy to follow and easy to understand, pretty much. And that's it.